ideas have reshaped news, radio, and advertising. As the mayor of New York City, he guided the city through the 2008 recession, reduced New York's carbon footprint, and expanded health care coverage. Since then, his work on gun safety measures and climate change have helped forge the path for a safer America. And now, he is running for president on a platform of putting progress ahead of partisanship and reforming our political system and economy to work for all Americans. Please join me in welcoming presidential candidate Mayor Mike Bloomberg.
First thing before I start talking, you guys got to help me. We have got to get a coach for Tom Perez and the governor. They've got to learn how to be enthusiastic. And thank you, Chairman Goodman, for that kind introduction. And thank you for saying it exactly as I wrote it. It was really nice of you. Seriously, you've done a great job leading the North Carolina Democratic Party. And the big crowd here tonight, I think, is proof. It is clear that North Carolina Democrats know how to put the word party in party dinner. And speaking of the Democratic Party, I really do have to acknowledge DNC Chair Tom Perez. I've gotten to know him over the last year. He is not just enthusiastic, he knows what he's talking about. And if you listen to him, we could all pull together, and we've got to change who's living at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, and he can help. And Governor Cooper and the leader, Leader Jackson and the rest of the North Carolina delegation, thank you for having me here tonight. This is the fourth city I've been in today. After this, I'm going to go get some sleep. And thank you all for helping to, we're going to work together. We've got to turn North Carolina blue. Now, I'm always glad to be in Charlotte, and no small part because this city is named after my mother, Charlotte Bloomberg. I'm just telling you, I know it is. She lived until 102 years old, died back in 2011, but she lived well over a third of the length of time America's been in existence. So is Charlotte, and so they have that in common. And I spoke to her when she was at home, and I was in New York. I called her every single day. And to this day, if you want to talk to my mother, she is still on the answering machine of the house I grew up in. And if you call, she probably won't respond very well, but she'll certainly say hello. Anyways, I think it's great to remember my mother and to tell her what she used to say to me: don't let it go to your head. So it's not going to my head that I've been able to come to a place like this. I didn't grow up where I could speak to a big crowd, and I didn't, and in fact, if you take a look, none of my fellow candidates, with the exception of Amy, are in Carolina tonight. They've all been afraid to come and to talk to you and tell you the truth about a critical issue. So tonight I'm going to come out and just say it. Mustard is not barbecue sauce. One of our campaign chairs, Steve Benjamin, is the mayor of Columbia, South Carolina, and he may never forgive me for saying that. But needless to say, I am happy to be in North Carolina, where you really know barbecue. Now, I don't want to start a rivalry between New York and North Carolina, but I do want to point out that some of your state's famous icons have New York roots. Michael Jordan, born in Brooklyn. The battleship North Carolina, built in Brooklyn. NASCAR, well, okay, you've got us there. Seriously, I've been to North Carolina 4 times since we launched our campaign a few months ago. I think that's more than any other candidate. And the reason is simple, because if we're going to beat Donald Trump in November, then we need to take him on in swing states like North Carolina. And we can't wait until the primary is over to start campaigning here. Our work starts now. We built a great campaign team here. I've got more than 10 field offices and 124 staff on the ground now in this state. Everyone is working hard. Early voting is in full swing, and we're now only 2 days away from Super Tuesday. Now, I know we can beat Donald Trump here. And this week, again, we saw why this election is so important. Right now, we have a leadership vacuum in the White House, and it could not have come at a worse time. The coronavirus has already arrived in America, and make no mistake, the White House is endangering lives and hurting our economy. And the fact is, President Trump was briefed on the virus 2 months ago, but he buried his head in the sand. And at that time, a virus that originated in a port city in China has exploded into a global pandemic, and thousands of people have died. And his failure to not prepare us for the ability to respond, that's the problem we have. He's not leading, he's not reacting, and he's doing whatever he's doing much too late. He even said that he thought it was a Democratic hoax. The president we know is not a scientist, and that's a nice way to put it. He doesn't even believe in science. And his incompetence really does put us all at risk. And last night at one of the rallies, when he called this Democratic a hoax, it was a time when the president should be putting politics aside and rallying the American people behind him. And he continues to try to divide us by playing partisan politics. This week, we all know the stock market has plunged out of fear, but also because investors have no confidence that this president is capable of managing the crisis. They know what we know. He fired scientists. He tried to cut funding for Centers for Disease Control. He failed to invest in emergency preparedness. And in situations like this, it's crucial that the government provide clear, consistent, and honest answers. But Trump has done exactly the opposite. He devoted a lot of life to protecting public health. Yeah, right. I did that. He didn't do it as mayor. I've done it through my philanthropy, and I did it when I was mayor of New York City. I've also built a global business, and I can tell you, we just spend a lot of time, even in our company, worrying about the virus. So I understand the economic damage that bad policies can cause, whether they are trade policies or health policies. But right now, the market is pricing in the president's management incompetence, and we're going to have to pay a heavy financial cost for that. And in addition, do even more for serious, if costs are going to be serious if we don't do more. The Democratic Party's the answer for this. We've got to have strong, competent people in Washington. We need someone who has led during a crisis, who believes in science, who invests in prevention and preparation, and who listens to experts. We need a president who will make protecting the health of the American people the #1 priority at all times. And I can promise you that's the kind of president that I will be. But first, we have to win an election, and I need your help. So I hope all of you will help our North Carolina team get out the vote here. And I hope you'll tell your friends and your family and your neighbors how important their votes are. And if they ask what my campaign is about, just tell them this: I am running to defeat Donald Trump. I am running a campaign for change, for sanity, a campaign for honesty, a campaign for inclusion, a campaign for compassion, and a campaign for human decency. And I'm running to restore honor to our government and to build a country that we can be proud of, and to start getting things done, and to start putting the United back in the United States of America. Now, some of you may remember back in Philadelphia in 2016, I spoke at the Democratic Convention, and I warned that Donald Trump wasn't fit for office. And then in 2018, I worked to help hold him accountable by supporting candidates who flipped 21 seats in the House. That made Nancy Pelosi Speaker and allowed us to begin holding Donald Trump accountable through the impeachment process. Now, this year, we all know the Trump strategy: attack Democrats, make their plans look unrealistic, unaffordable, and undoable. Well, that's not going to work against you and me, because we have the record and the resources to defeat him in the swing states the Democrats lost in 2016. And I know we can do it, but to get it done, we have to nominate someone at the top of the ticket who can build a broad coalition that rallies Democrats and attracts independents and moderate Republicans, because that's the only ways we're going to win. And we've done that. I did that in New York in 3 races. I won in the most populous large city in the United States. And I know I'm not a typical politician. I've never worked in Washington before. I don't make pie-in-the-sky promises. And as you've seen in the debates, I'm not someone who just yells slogans even when they're not true. I believe, let me tell you seriously, I believe we need a leader who is ready to be commander-in-chief, not college debater-in-chief. So if you want someone who talks turkey and who has a record of accomplishment on all the big issues facing our country and who has the resources to beat Trump, that's me. If you want a debater, you got the wrong guy here. So look, I give virtually all my company's profits to charity, and there's no better investment I can make in the future of our country than spending to get Donald Trump out of 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And if you think my campaign is expensive, just imagine what 4 more years of Donald Trump will cost our country. And somebody the other day said to me, you know, you're spending a lot of money. And I said, yes, I am. I'm spending the money to get rid of Donald Trump. And the guy said, oh, spend more, spend more. It would be a catastrophe if this race ends with Donald Trump in the White House. Now, even though Donald Trump and I are both from New York, we couldn't be more different. In fact, you might say I'm the un-Trump. And if you just think about it, he breaks promises, I keep them. He divides people, I unite them. He's a climate denier. I'm an engineer. I actually believe in science. Imagine that. He tweets, I follow facts and respect data and tells the truth. He looks out for people who inherited their wealth, like him. And I started with nothing but my parents teaching me hard work and ethical behavior. And I'll tell you, I will raise taxes on the wealthy, including me, to get the revenue we need to start fighting income inequality and paying for infrastructure and investing in emergency preparedness and extending health care and improving education and all the other things we need to strengthen our great country. My whole career has been as a doer, and I believe we need less talk, less partisanship, less division, less tweeting. In fact, what about my commitment, when I get to the White House, no more tweeting from the Oval Office ever again? Well, in all fairness, it's easy for me to say since I can't spell. But then again, neither can Donald. Look, I've been pretty blessed in my life, and there's nothing that Donald Trump can do or say that can hurt you and me if we work together. But he has hurt a lot of other people, and that's why I'm running, to stand up for every American who has lost a job or lost their insurance or can't pay their college tuition. You've all heard the slogan, Mike will get it done. Well, let me take 2 seconds to tell you what the it is in that saying. It means winning this November and sending Donald Trump back to Mar-a-Lago permanently. And that's just the beginning, because getting it done means finally providing health insurance to every American who lacks it and lowering costs for everyone else. And getting it done means passing common sense gun safety laws to protect our children and communities. And getting it done means making America a global leader in the fight against climate change. And getting it done means creating good jobs with higher wages. And getting it done means addressing discrimination and inequality. And getting it done means finally fixing our broken immigration system and creating a path to citizenship for 11 million people living in the shadows. And getting it done means protecting a woman's right to choose and appointing judges who'll defend that right. Now, it won't be easy, but I know we can do it, because unlike other candidates, I don't just talk about doing things. I have a record of reaching across the aisle and getting them done, and I just want to give you a couple quick examples. Other candidates talk about raising teachers' salaries. Well, I can tell you in New York, we raised teachers' salaries 43%. And we also raised salaries for the firefighters and the sanitation workers and the police officers and all the people that work in the city. If you want good government, you got to pay a good wage so that people can focus on their jobs. People talk about improving public schools. Well, I can tell you we raised graduation rates by more than 40% when I was in office. They talk about improving health care. In New York, we cut the number of uninsured by 40%, providing care for mothers and babies, and raising life expectancy in New York City by 3 whole years. So if you want to live longer, you could move to New York, or you can just vote for me. Others talk about fighting climate change. In New York, we cut New York City's carbon footprint by 13%, and we helped replace 300 dirty coal-fired power plants with cleaner energy across this country. And others talk about stopping gun violence. In New York, we did it. We helped create a gun safety group with 6 million members across this country, including Moms Deserve Action, and we're working to pass common sense gun laws in states around this country. We've already got 20 states that have those gun laws. I know how to bring people together to solve problems. That's how I've always run my business, and that's how I ran New York City. I was elected 7 weeks after the devastating terrorist attacks of 9/11. Our city was in tatters and our economy was in recession. But I brought people together in the city and we created nearly 500,000 new jobs, 175,000 units of affordable housing. We reduced street homeless by 30%. We launched new programs to fight poverty and opioids, and we rebuilt our city stronger than ever. Over the past two decades, we've taken on the toughest fights and we've won. And we've taken on Donald Trump and won many times on gun safety, on coal pollution, and flipping the House blue in the 2018 election. And we're ready to do it again. So let me finish by telling you, I can't do it alone, North Carolina. So if you want quality health insurance for everyone, not empty promises, if you want to combat inequality with fairer taxes and better jobs, if you support my commitment to quality public education no matter what zip code you live in, if you share my belief in opportunity for all and not just for a few, if you are ready to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and if you are ready to clean out the Oval Office and get things done, then I'd be honored to have your support, your hope, your help, and yes, your vote. Thank you for having me. Good night. Thank you.